I was getting shit yesterday, of course, talking about the Obamacare thing and saying that that the middle class are getting shit on. And, of course, Twitter voice guy has to chime in with, don't start making believe you give a shit about the middle class. And I tweeted, I never said I gave a shit about anyone. But Obama was pledging that he gave a shit about the middle class and everyone else. And all I'm seeing about the Obamacare thing is people tweeting and reporting and tweeting links to stories about people that their rates are going through the roof. They have their insurance policy. And apparently, here's the biggest problem. Obamacare says that you need to have health insurance. And Obama always said, hey, if you got a policy you're happy with, you're going to be able to keep that. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. And everyone was like, oh, well, okay. Well, it turns out you need 10 certain things that have to fit the criteria for this new legislation, or your policy will be eliminated.
What kind of things?
Things like maternity leave and maternity care. Now, if you're a man, a single man, maybe you're retired, I don't know. Why the fuck should you have to include maternity care in your insurance policy? Now it's part of the law. You have to. So a lot of these people that have a policy catered to them, you know, with certain things that they might need and other things that they don't need eliminated from their policy. And then they have a certain deductible and they have a premium that they pay every month. That policy is now gone. And then they'll offer you a similar one. They go, well, here's a similar one for $1,000 a month instead of $250 a month, which you've been paying.
That stinks.
So the whole thing with Obama saying that that you'll be able to keep your previous policy is apparently bullshit. So, and then I was, of course, then, you know, the usual suspects on Twitter, you know, black people, they start getting on me about that and saying, oh, you don't understand it. Oh, that. And I'm like, this isn't even open to interpretation. This is what it is. I'm not interpreting some weird fucking vagary about this Affordable Healthcare Act.
Well, how many people is it helping? Like, it can't be hurting everyone.
I'm certain there are some people on the lower ends of the spectrum, people that never had insurance, things like that, that it could be helping, I guess. I haven't heard from them yet. It doesn't seem like a lot of people have been signing up, regardless of what it is. I mean, you hear from some people say it's because the website crashes. Other people say it's because people just aren't signing up. Mm-hmm. I think some of the states down south had maybe 300 people sign up. It's all-time low. And then they're saying, well, it's because the website crashes. And then other people are saying, no, it's because no one is really signing up for it. Well, if you have insurance, or if you're a small business owner with a certain amount of employees and you've given them certain kinds of health care, all I've been reading is people with their premiums going through the roof. And then a couple of people have said, well, mine have remained the same. Some people have had a 100% coverage and they have a $10,000 deductible. And now it's 80% coverage with a $20,000 deductible, and their premiums like tripled.
In terms of having this ready for rollout, isn't it evident that they weren't ready to roll it out by the fact that the website is crashing? Yeah,
that's evident. Just the fact that Nancy Pelosi, when it was being voted on a couple of years back, said, we'll learn what it is after we sign it. That was the mindset with this whole thing. Let's just get it through, make it law, and then we'll figure it out.
That's one of those quotes that just never goes away.
Oh, that one will be over.
Haunting her.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, when I nap and I wake up and I look at Twitter, and I can always tell what kind of day you're having. Like, you know how you turn it on, you open your Twitter and you've missed a few hours, you have to scroll, and the first thing you see is like you quoting somebody and going, no, that's not what I was saying. And I'm like, oh, he's having a long day.
He's been fighting. Twitter fight. Yeah. So I was getting into that yesterday with a lot of people. It's always fun. I like good Twitter arguments. I don't shy away, and I don't get it doesn't really annoy me. I mean, you know, there's some people that you're just like, some people you just block because they're not even contributing to the discussion. Other people, I don't care if they don't agree with me. I'll quote them. I'll debate with them. It's fun. It's not a debate, Jerry. This isn't a debate.
What's the compelling argument on the other side, though? It can't just be everybody going, you don't understand.
The compelling argument on the other side is it's helping people and Obama rules. I mean, it's ludicrous. There are some people that have never said one bad thing about anything Obama's done and never will.
And some people have said never one good thing.
Never one good thing. That is
never
true.
Will.
That is absolutely true. I might have said one or two nice things about him. He seems to like his family.
Oh.
Seems to.
Seems to.
He appears maybe he's an American citizen.
Yeah. He knows how to tie a tie.
He can tie a dandy tie. He could read a teleprompter very well.
True.
These are all pluses, as I see it.
He's literate.
Right.
Yeah. Well-spoken.
Well-spoken.
Yeah.
Yes. He's got a job.
Really good one.
President.
Yeah.
Of these United States.
You're not satisfied with his performance.
Yeah.
But
No.
I do want to see people have health coverage, but there's maybe a better way to go about it. I don't like the fact that there are people who don't have enough money for health insurance because some of them are lazy and other of them just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies are fucking vultures. I mean, having dealt with them when I can afford stuff, I hate their guts. I hate them.
I don't like the idea of the government telling you that you have to have something. And you know, you could equate this with the cable companies. I was thinking this last night. You want HBO, you want Showtime, you want the regular network channels. But let's say I don't want any of the multitude of Spanish channels that are on there. Well, the cable company says, screw you. This is a tiered package deal. And that's the problem people have had with cable companies. They don't offer a la carte services where you can just pick what you want. You have to pick their bronze, silver, gold tiered things and get a lot of channels you don't want. You could equate the healthcare stuff with that now because you're getting certain healthcare options that you don't want, but it's mandatory to have. The only difference is it would be as if the cable companies, you called them and said, look, I don't want this. And they go, well, that's all we're offering. And then you say, all right, I'm canceling my cable service. And they go, okay, but now every year you got to pay us a penalty
How much
for
is the
not
fine?
having. I don't know what the fine is. I believe it's based on income. It's a yearly thing. Like it goes up as years go by between now and 2016. It increases. But regardless, any penalty, any tax, because that's what the Supreme Court called it, seems to be, if you don't want it, you don't want maternity care. You don't want the ambulatory services, whatever. There's 10 things that you have to have now. It should be up to the consumer because, again, it's just another thing that you're buying. Another thing of protection or that you're buying yourself, and it should be up to the consumer what they want to get.
I completely agree. I just don't like being fucking handed somebody else's bill, which is what happens. And that's where I get irritated. Like people that don't want to buy in, that's fine. I don't care if they have insurance. But then when they get sick, they're going to be taken care of. It's not like we let people with cancer just sit on the curb and go, you chose to smoke, you don't want insurance. We take care of them. And so eventually they're going to get taken care of and we're going to wind up getting fucked even. That's the only
But are we getting fucked as much as we are now?
I don't know.
With having, various premiums going up. And I don't know where this is headed. I mean, obviously it's busted, but I think it's going to head to some single government-based healthcare system. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be ready to go. And
I don't even know if
I think
I'm
it's
affected.
costing a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people don't know. That's a big deal right there. Shouldn't you know how this is going to affect you financially and healthcare wise? I mean, I don't know. It seems like the very lower end of the financial spectrum might make out on this with government subsidies. You can go and check and say, all right, that's such and such an amount for premiums for it. I can't afford it. Oh, look, I fit into the government subsidy area where I could get government money to pay. Well, where does that come from? Government money is nothing but taxpayers' money. So, again, it's costing you money. that Obama said, won't cost you a dime.
I don't mind my money being spent there as much. If people are using it for healthcare, if they're sick, I don't mind as much. It's like at least it's helping other U.S. citizens.
Yeah,
and it's like there's
Plus,
so much
like you
waste.
said, it's going to go there anyway.
Yeah,
if they get really sick, deathly ill, you're gonna have to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, it's not like all of a sudden once they get ill, we go, well, you made your choice. Now sit in your fucking house and just dry rot.
It does seem like that if you're on the lower end of the financial spectrum and you get ill, you will be taken care of. Not as well as somebody that can afford very good health insurance. And is that you're right, that everybody should have access to the exact same health care. Now, let's say you've done well for yourself, you got some money. Shouldn't you, even where health care is involved, shouldn't you be able to afford better health care than somebody that isn't? It sounds cruel, but shouldn't you be able to afford better health care?
Yes, but I also am we're so fucking busy putting our faces in everybody else's business. Mm-hmm. We can't put our face in someone's business fast enough to tell them how to treat their citizens.
Yeah.
We can't do it fast enough. So it's like we should kind of at least make sure that all of our citizens have health insurance. If we're going to go overseas and fucking mind everybody else's business, we should at least make sure that,
now,
we take care of people right here.
Let's say you got ill and you need...
Oh, God forbid.
God forbid.
All the listeners just grab their chest.
God forbid. Let's say you get ill. You have a very good insurance plan.
Do you mean sick, or are you saying that in a rap way?
Okay. You get ill. Let's say you get fat, and illin'. And you have a good... you have good health insurance. You go to a very expensive doctor. But now you can't get services as quickly as you want because now everybody has access to these upper echelon doctors that normally wouldn't have as many people to have to service.
Yeah, but
wouldn't you be like, hey, fuck this guy?
Absolutely.
I want fucking healthcare.
Absolutely.
And apparently, we'll talk to this pseudo Canadian over here. Apparently, in Canada, where they have socialized medicine, and everyone has healthcare, there is a problem with a waiting list.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody can go to the same doctors.
But you can also have private doctors. So, like, a doctor can start a private practice, and if you have money, you don't have to use, the socialized doctor.
Yeah, but you're not going to get a private fucking heart surgeon or oncology doctor. You get a general practitioner or something like that can be your private doctor. If you're admitted to a hospital for cancer surgery or something, I want to know that it's the best doctor, first of all. And I want to know that you don't have to wait because somebody that you're subsidizing with your tax dollars is getting the same service. Sorry, it does sound fucking elitist.
You want to be able to buy your way to the front of the line.
Yes! Just like fucking Ted Kennedy did when he had his fucking cancer. Yep. And you know damn well he wasn't going to the corner clinic.
That's true.
Just like every other member of Congress that doesn't have to go to these doctors and join into Obamacare. It's basic human nature to want to get the best, especially where your own health is involved.
And that's a good point, though. They don't have to, it does sound elitist to say that, but you know what? The guys passing these rules don't have to abide by them.
Exactly. So it's crazy.
I don't know.
That part of it's insane.
And no one's going to let you cut the line because you subsidize them. Like, that would be nice if you're going for a test and someone's like, you look like you pay for me. Why don't you go first?
Why don't you go ahead for that CAT scan before I do? It's on your dime. So, I don't know. These are the things that you say them and people get angry and they call you things like an elitist and a scumbag and a racist and a fucking whatever else they've called me.
Yeah, it's probably for a lot of other things you've said too.
Well, of course,
I don't mind being called an elitist though because I fucking work. I don't. I'm not fucking born into money. It's like I fucking work 7 days a week. So fuck everybody.
Yeah, I don't mind it either.
I'm overpaid, but considering what I contribute to society, honestly.
You know what? Since we're talking about healthcare, laughter. is the best medicine, Jim. You are a healthcare provider.
Absolutely.
With your,
although not to nearly as many people as I'd like to be. See, ticket sales.
You're the equivalent to fucking ancient doctors putting leeches on people. That's your laughter being.
I really am. I'm the wooden teeth of the comedy circuit.
You're the fucking Civil War surgeon's hacksaw of comedy.
But I bet if socialized medicine took off, that there would be private health centers that people built specifically for rich people.
You think?
Yeah, I bet there would be cancer centers and all that stuff that were very expensive that only rich people could afford to go to.
But they come here. People come to the U.S. from Canada, and it's embarrassing when this Canadian politician that came down for treatment. That was embarrassing because it's like, you know, you got your own system, and you still leave the country where your average citizen can't do that.
Yeah, the Shah of Iran came here for his friggin' treatments, and that guy had 18 fucking, I was going to say bazillion.
I'm glad you didn't. That would have been humiliating for all of us.
He had exactly 6,400, a lot of money. But it didn't mean anything to him unless he could come here for treatment.
We saw how that worked out.
Apparently that didn't mean anything either.
Not good.
But I don't know. The way we try in this country, especially these days, and it's very liberal thinking, to think everybody can be the same. Everyone can get the same thing. The same housing, the same health care, the same food, the same schooling for their children, the same everything. That doesn't fucking work. It just doesn't work. You have to let the public decide by what they want, who has access to what. You can't just open it up to everybody. Sorry, some people are going to be very well off and get better things than people that aren't as well off. And that's fucking life, especially in America, where just as much as you look at this land of opportunity as a great place and potential to become great, it's also the potential to not become great because of a multitude of things, and one of them being just dumb luck. But that's the reality we have to live with in this country that people don't want to fucking realize.
I would agree completely with that if it wasn't for the fact that went on for too long and for too many time because of just an unfairness. Like, you're not all going to get the same shit. You're not all going to have the same job that pays the same thing. And, you know, some people are going to go a lot farther than others. And if everything started the same, then I would completely agree and say, fuck everybody who's lazy and doesn't do anything. But because this country was for so many years completely unfair and it was built into the system where you couldn't do anything, then you understand, like, the deck was so stacked one way for so long. It just seems kind of shitty to say that because I'm not saying you're shitty, but
I know what you mean too.
It wasn't always built where we were all starting off at the same place.
But that, to me, is what this country has been about and is about. It's about looking at opportunity, looking at people that were able to see an opportunity, take it, invest time and money, and make something of it. Railroad barons, they're looked at as pretty scummy people using virtually slave labor to build the rail lines and making unbelievable amounts of money. That was in the context of the time. It's very unfair looking back at it, but at the time, that's what was done. You can't look at that time with today's ethics, morality, and viewpoints.
I think you can because I think that back then they weren't that different. Like, they were different, like, you know, slavery, you know, but they weren't that different. Like, because if the time was so fucked up, then we should be ignoring the Constitution. Like, if back then they were so different that using slave labor, well, that's just a time thing, then we shouldn't be honoring anything they thought. They weren't that different from us. They were the same kind of shitheads we are today. Some were real liberal, some were conservative. You know,
if it was legal at the time, why not use it? Why? I mean, because of ethically, morally. I mean, if you see a sound investment in a company, let's say that you're pretty confident is going to make you money, but ethically you don't like what the company does, Would you invest in it if you knew you were going to make a lot of money?
I don't know. It depends on why I didn't like what they did. I mean, there's companies I just don't like, and then there's companies that I think maybe I would really think are scummy.
You really you would really let your ethics, nothing more, not determine if you invested in something, if you knew it was going to make you money. Let's say you knew that like some new energy company was going to make you money, but it was going to.
But they use slave labor in the Sudan?
Oh, there's a good idea. You're on the international market. One of these diamond companies that fucking, blood diamonds and shit like that. Would you invest in it? And is that purely because of ethical reasons?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that just because we're debating it. But if I knew that, if I honestly, and maybe 300 years ago I would feel different. But right now there are certain things I just wouldn't. And it's,
yeah. I mean, it gets even easier than that. There are people who wouldn't invest in like Chick-fil-A as a restaurant because the guy didn't support gay marriage.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think people definitely make moral judgments in terms of business.
You do understand that phone you're using is built in China where children are used for labor in deplorable fucking conditions and whatnot. So you're pretty much doing that. I mean,
you are, and in a way, you are supporting it just by doing absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not a conscious decision. Like what you're saying is, would I knowingly invest in something knowing that
you bought Apple stock?
I did, yeah.
You made money off of it?
I did, yeah.
And they're using virtual slave labor of children in China.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess you got me on that, but the difference.
I didn't mean to get you.
No. But I mean, that is a good point. I mean, it is. So I have knowingly invested in something where when you backtrack it far enough,
right?
Although I do see a difference between that and knowingly and consciously saying, I don't care that they're using slave labor. I'm going to invest in that company and fuck whatever they're doing. But that, I guess it's kind of hard to avoid. If I did,
it's a pick and
if I was being completely true, I would probably never use anything that uses that technology, which would be kind of impossible today.
Right. Yeah. See, again, though, it would be kind of impossible. It's based on our time now. Like 50, 100 years from now, you might have the choice not to use that type of technology that is using slave labor. But right now you have to. Now you could look back 200 years, 300 years or so in this country and think, well, you know what? I got to get my crops picked. I got to fucking get a railroad built. I would hope I wouldn't need to do this, but I do. I need to hire cheap labor. It's available. Ethically, I wish I didn't have to, but so the mindset of the time, I think, is very important when looking at history then and now. Yeah,
and that's a great argument you're making. I mean, it's a great point. However, I still say there's a difference between me investing in Apple, because if you backtrack the technology far enough, there's people who are using fucking child labor and things like that.
Right.
And the intent of that, and the intent of living in a society where I know that this part of the citizens are fucking slaves and they do this, and I see them on the street and they have to open the door for me, and yet I'm telling other people how to live their life. Like, I think there's a difference between the mindset and doing those things. But like when I think about it, oh yeah, I guess they do use that fucking. But I didn't realize, to be honest with you, what you're saying about them using the technology. I didn't realize that until I saw a Vice documentary.
Right.
I didn't know that happened. It wasn't. It's one of those things where if you look hard enough, you do find it. There are places that go into these technologies where they treat their workers like garbage, and even in some cases, unpaid labor, slave labor. But that wasn't something I knew when I first invested in Apple. That wasn't something I was aware of. If I didn't see that Vice documentary, and you just said that, like about the tech, whatever this is in the cell phones that is made from that mineral.
Right. Yeah. I can't remember the name.
I would say to you right now, like, what are you talking about? But I do know that. But I was, so I get what you're saying, but there's, I think, a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm not making an elegant argument, but I do think there's a difference. No. That's all. And that point that I was making right there. But I do think there's a difference.
But I do think there's a difference. So there.
So there.
I need to fucking send pictures of my cock.
But the argument,
if some little Chinese kid has to sit there for 18 hours with a soldering iron, so be it.
Yeah, and but I do think that you make investments according to your morale. I would not invest in something I know was using fucking slave labor just to get what I want. I really wouldn't.
I would. If I knew I could turn a buck investing in a company and I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I don't know why. I'm not saying this is a good thing, and I'm not saying everybody should feel like that, but I just don't think I'd feel all that bad about investing in something because, again, I'm not doing anything illegal. Morally, it might be wrong, ethically, based on somebody's morality. Again, that's a very weird area of how people feel about certain things. I don't know. Again, I think we take care of our people pretty well here in the United States. And what goes on in other countries is their fucking business. And our country is doing business with these countries. So, the collective's morality is a little askew. So what the fuck? Why wouldn't I want to turn a buck investing in a South African fucking diamond plant that's hobbling people?
But you do have a moral... And that's exactly it. I would never knowingly invest in one of those directly knowing. Like if you said to me, like, look, this is one of the companies that fucking smashes kids and makes them do this shit. But they're gonna. I really
give me $100,000 and I'll make you $1 million in 6 months.
I really wouldn't do it. Knowing, no, I honestly wouldn't. And it's not that I'm a great guy, but there's something like
know that.
I'm garbage. But it's also like I'm not a complete. And I'm opening myself up here, but I could probably make more money if I was an absolute hack sellout comic. I pause and I allow everybody to
make their little.
You could make more money as a radio guy.
Oh,
but literally, if we went back on terrestrial radio, or when we were on terrestrial radio, if we completely were willing to fucking do anything that it took to get the ratings, and be absolute hacks and do what they told us to do, we would have been on in more markets, and it would have been. I think there was a way to make that work, but it would have made us feel like we needed showers. And you weren't willing to do that. You weren't willing to, and neither was I. And neither was Opie. It was like we did it to a certain degree, but then they would say certain things, and we would go like, what do you fucking know? Instead of going, okay, that's where the money is. So I think there are times where you make a decision where money is great, and I love it, but there are certain things I'm not going to.
But that's a direct, 1 degree of separation.
Okay,
and I think when you separate yourself from a situation with various degrees of people or companies or countries, it gets easier. That's why we watch the news and they can show people in Syria dead on the news. Yet if something happens here in the States, they will never show the dead Americans laying there. Again, it's just your degree of separation from those people. So that makes a difference. If I know there's little Chinese kids soldering away all night long to make my iPhone, it doesn't bother me buying that as much as it would if, I thought, little Riley was sitting there having to solder the little fucking thing together.
Look at Travis just glaring at you every day while you texted.
Making me buy 10 fucking cell phones a day. I had to buy candy bars yesterday.
I don't like
I loved them.
I don't like the fact that you threw that blood diamond argument at me, and now you're dissecting that argument.
I know.
I should have just used you to fucking defend my point.
It's just a whirlwind discussion we have here. We play both sides sometimes, but we do. It kind of softens the blow if we're separated from the actual problem.
Because a lot of times, but also being separated, you don't know sometimes what's happening. Again, I saw a documentary on those mines and realized when they said that goes into every piece of technology we use, whatever the mineral in those mines is. I had no fucking idea that went on. How the fuck do I know what happened? There's a difference between that and fucking seeing a guy is a citizen and a guy fights in the military, and yet still can't fucking sit with you and eat. And there's just a difference in where you're living and what you're seeing directly every day, or the person that you're fucking every night. When she can't go out and vote, and I know that's 100 years ago, but it's not that long ago. So we talk about fairness and being right, and we have practiced complete unfairness for a long time. And I've been going on this tangent for a bit, for the last year or so. But it's just been frustrating because I'm so tired of us it's wasting money everywhere.
But this old Victorian thinking of the woman not voting, that came from somewhere.
Yeah.
It came from somewhere where it did make sense at the time. It's an odd thing, but there was a thinking in Victorian days about women and their incompetence, or they're too delicate to do things. And it made sense at the time.
Sure.
It was...
Beating your wife and children so they stop talking comes from a place of making sense. Like, when you look at that, as bad as child abuse is, it does make some kind of logical sense. If your kid is crying, if you punch him and he shuts up,
right?
I do understand where that makes sense. So everything comes from a place that makes sense to someone. But it's always the person in the dominant position that it makes sense to.
Well, yeah.
It always makes no sense to somebody on the receiving end.
Right. Well, it does seem like we've tried to patch a few of these things up over time, but I don't know.